Hi BookTube, I'm here to talk about piracy and ebooks and digital rights management. I want to talk about pirating books, not how to do it, although there may be some helpful links in the description bar below. And I noticed there's a lot of discussions about the morality of piracy, mostly on the onus of the person who's doing the pirating, but no one hits on the big issues that internet pirates fight for and against. Basically, digital rights management, its misuse, its effects on the market, both economic and the arts, and its violation of consumer rights. So what is DRM? Digital rights management. It is the way that some companies claim they're trying to protect digital files from piracy, and it's an iffy subject in regards to copyright law because of multiple issues. I'll be talking about 3 of those issues: its misuse to eliminate competition, how it affects consumer rights, and its ineffectiveness. So first of all, the big content companies really only use DRM to eliminate competition and to enforce a captive market. So as soon as that purpose becomes moot, as soon as they've become the #1 company, the companies tend to drop DRM. We saw this with iTunes. They used to use DRM to lock out certain devices from obtaining the music that you downloaded, and sometimes even forced you to pay ridiculous amounts of money in order to get, you know, newer models and such. And what they did this for was to force other competitors out of the market. And as soon as they did that, as soon as iTunes became the place to go for music, they dropped DRM. So it's obviously not about piracy, it was about cornering the market. I'll provide some links in the description that talk more about this in regards to music. So most digital music nowadays is not actually protected by DRM. They are no longer concerned about music being pirated. So why are ebooks still protected by this outdated technology? Amazon. The Kindle is obviously cornering the market on ebook readers to the point where it's becoming the proprietary IPNOM for ebook readers. So it's kind of like the use of Kleenex. We use Kleenex to refer to all kinds of facial tissue, but Kleenex is a brand, not the actual product. So, you know, when you see someone with an ebook reader, you call it a Kindle, you know. It's coming to that point, right? DRM is also why there is no clear reason for Kindle to improve their ebook readers, because they are at the top of the market. So why do you need to improve when you're already in the #1 spot, right? And they're keeping other companies away by using DRM. So there are better e-readers, there are better apps out there, and better products, but Amazon relies on kind of customers' reluctance and laziness to set up other accounts and passwords and to have fragmented libraries, to have a Kindle and a Kobo and stuff on your computer and stuff on your phone. So, you know, it's easier for consumers just to use Kindle, right? So DRM, is it really about copyright, or is it about anti-competitive and immoral business practices? I think it's about being anti-competitive. The next issue is consumer rights. Back in 2009, something really quite ironic happened in regards to ebooks and copyright and censorship. So what happened was Amazon removed thousands of copies of 1984 and Animal Farm from Kindle devices after people had already paid for these things, legitimately bought these ebooks, and didn't refund them. There's also the story of one Amazon user who's named Lynn, who had her whole library of ebooks deleted, access to her account denied, because there was a mysterious account linked that somehow violated the terms. And when she tried to contact Amazon to try and find out what account, what terms were violated, try and, you know, get her books back, or try and get a refund at least, they refused everything. So here's the issue. With ebooks, in digital rights management, what you are purchasing is not an ebook. You aren't purchasing a product, you're purchasing a license to access that book. And this means that you do not own the book. You're basically renting it, and Amazon and other ebook sellers who have DRM have the right to revoke that license and your access to it. Which is not right? You pay for something, you expect to be able to own it and have it. DRM also removes your right to do what you want with the product. So if I have a physical book, I can do what I want with this. I can tear it to pieces, I can read it, I can lend it to someone, I can actually sell it to someone else too, you know? It's my product now, it's my way, I can use it however I want because I paid for it. Most DRMs actually prevent you from switching devices, or actually limit the amount of devices that you can use that ebook on. So say you have a Kindle e-reader and it breaks and you decide, maybe I'm going to try Kobo. Well, now you can't transfer your Kindle books over to the Kobo reader, or over to the Sony reader, over to the Pen Digital model. You can't do that because of DRM. You want to read your ebook reader on your e-reader, but you forget your e-reader one day and you want to read it on your phone while you're traveling, or you want to read it on your tablet because, you know, your phone's dead or your ebook's dead. You want to read it on your computer because the screen's bigger and you can search and do more things on the computer. Well, hopefully the publisher didn't put a limit on how many devices you can access that on. If I have this book, a physical book, I can take it with me wherever I want and read it wherever I want and how many times I want. But on an ebook, you can't always do that. There's also been cases where if the store you bought your ebook from closes, they can take all the books that you thought you paid for and off your device and not have to refund you, because you didn't buy a product, you bought a license. And you likely didn't read the fine print before agreeing to all this stuff. It's all in the terms and conditions. You know, another thing in regards to consumer rights is the issue of privacy, and that is a huge issue on the internet right now. If you're on the internet and don't know about privacy issues on the internet, where have you been? And it's very important. I think you should be informed about this. The threat to your privacy and security. See, DRM assumes that the computer's owner is its adversary. For DRM to work, there has to be no obvious way to remove it, interrupt it, or to fool it, right? This is their goal. They don't want you to take DRM off. This means that DRMs run on your devices, on your phones, on your computers, on your tablets, but don't show up when you ask your computer to show you a list of running programs. This is, they say, intended to stop users from removing the DRM file, but of course this also works as a way for malicious software, viruses, and Trojans, and keyloggers to hide itself as well. There have been many examples of company DRMs that have allowed this to happen on users' computers. And the laws that protect DRM also stop the disclosure of the flaws in these systems that can harm you, your privacy, and your computer. There's a scary thing called ratting. It's how your device, including your computer's camera, can be hacked through these DRM files, but now it's illegal to inform you about how you can protect yourself from this. And there's 10 more examples of how DRM violates consumer rights. It's the primary issue, I believe, in regards to piracy. But I'm pretty sure you can look up a lot of this yourself as well if you're really interested in it. I'm just giving you a few examples. Lastly, the third argument against DRM and why piracy is so relevant and kind of important to internet culture is because it's ineffective. It just doesn't work like it's intended to work. It doesn't stop piracy, obviously. It's as easy to remove DRM as Googling it. I just Googled remove DRM and there are tons of things came up following the steps to do that, and allowing them to be used as actual products, you know, being able to do what you want with them and to be able to share them with other people. And the plethora of books, for example, books not available through a retailer, and the ease of access and use makes tech-savvy consumers more likely to pirate than to put up with these violations that I previously mentioned. You know, there's so many indie books out there, or out of print books that are available through piracy that aren't available through a retailer. And lastly, the main argument that piracy inhibits sales is just not true. The U.S. Government Accountability Office completed a one-year research study in 2010 that came to the conclusion that there's just not enough information to show that piracy is having a negative impact on the sale of digital goods. So this was ebooks, TV shows, movies, music, all of that. Tor Books UK actually decided to go DRM free. They're well known for their science fiction and fantasy books. Their publisher, they took off DRM of all of its titles starting in April 2012, and after a full year there had seen no increase in piracy. So DRM doesn't really protect from piracy. DRM negotiations can actually hinder some authors from being published because, you know, some authors are aware of these issues, or they aren't given enough money because you aren't paying for a product, you're paying for a license. So the amount of money that goes to them, say, might be different than if you'd buy a physical copy, because they have to contribute money to the digital rights management, right? Some authors have even noticed a jump in sales after releasing free ebooks themselves. So for example, Neil Gaiman observed that the most pirate-heavy countries, such as Russia, actually had the best sales, and he decided to experiment with this by releasing his book for free online. And he said sales of my book through independent bookstores, because that's where they were measuring it through, went up the following month by 300%. Paulo Coelho saw sales of The Alchemist jump from 1,000 copies in Russia in 2001 to over 1 million after he released it as a free ebook. So he was selling 1,000 copies before he released the free ebook, and then sold 1 million copies afterwards. He even started his own pirating website with links to pirated versions of his books in different languages, and then audio copies and stuff like that, because he wanted to share. And these are just a few examples of this happening. And so just to reiterate my arguments, piracy and DRM are the issue here. So digital rights management is actually used as an anti-competitive and immoral business practice, not as a way to stop piracy. Consumer rights and privacy are being violated by DRM. And lastly, it's ineffective, and the common arguments against piracy are not founded in reality, but are a scare tactic. So remember, science cannot be trumped by anecdotes. What you think is common sense, science may disprove, and the science has disproved that trying to stop piracy does not work, and helping piracy along actually can increase book sales. So that's my spiel on book piracy and digital rights management. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and thank you for watching.